Welcome, everybody, to the Useless Information Podcast. This is the third installment with me, your host, Danny B, and my co-host, Dick. How you doing, brother?
Dick, I'm good, bro. I'm doing real good. Just riding the high from my team winning last night.
Let's talk about it, man.
Let's talk about it.
Me as a Braves fan, I'm a Braves fan. Let's hear about this.
They pulled it off 2-0 last night, and I was kind of worried. I'm not going to lie. I was worried Padres are real dangerous, but Dodgers pitching shut them out. 24 straight innings. They beat them 2-0. Kike with a blast, almost hit it out of the ballpark, and then Teo hit one out. So, yeah, I'm just riding that high because I'm a big Dodger fan. Just loving life right now. We got to take on the Mets starting Sunday. Kind of a repeat of 1988. That's who they played in the championship series in 1988, where they won the actual last real World Series they won was 1988. We're not talking about 2020, even though I do love the fact they did win in 2020, but it was a shortened season. But yeah, I'm just excited. My team's going to be moving on. So yeah.
So people out there that don't follow baseball, you said 24 innings.
24 innings straight, the Dodgers pitching shut them out, so they didn't score for 24 straight innings. So that's 2 straight games plus the game before they didn't score for the last few innings. So yeah, the pitching just shut them out.
That's fucked up. As if you're a Padre fan, you're probably like, I wonder what this coach is telling these players right now.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? Like
what was this for? Like, why did we waste our whole fucking year doing this?
Yeah, and then you just can't score for. And the Dodgers pitching was supposed to be the ones that were the problem, and they were killing. They shut them out for all those innings. It's like, come on, guys. And then these guys were they're talking a lot of shit. You know, Manny Muchacho, who I always call him. I can't stand that guy. He was just talking shit, and he looked dumb. He looked dumb the last few at bats.
See, people, like, trash talking, if you can back up your trash talking, that's why Conor McGregor was so deadly in his early career, like in his prime. When that guy talked shit in the press conferences, people were like, oh my gosh, like he's saying some real race shit. And then he would go into the fight and just fucking whoop people's ass.
Oh yeah, he was backing it up.
You Padre fans, you stopped Dodger fans from going to your Petco Stadium. You started doing all that shade shit, and look where it got you. You got shut out. You got shut out in your own place. Like you didn't serve any purpose. Yeah, it served no purpose at all. Like that's raw. So yeah, I'm rooting for the Dodgers to kind of go further because you guys have Freddie Freeman, formerly of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm kind of happy.
Like I said before, I do love the Braves, and so getting Freeman and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm glad you're on our side for this playoff round.
Well, hey. Everybody, welcome back to this podcast. As you know, we stream this useless information on both our platforms, the Mind of Dick and the Conference Call podcast. So I'm excited for this third installment. I want to give kind of like an honorable mention to October 11th because we were initially going to do it that day, but A, the Dodger game was going on. B, I was picking up my daughter. So it was kind of like it worked out in a good scenario. Plus, to be quite honest with you, the 11th of October sucks ass in history. It completely blows balls because I've went back to like 1978 in like movies. Like no pivotal movies came out on the 11th. Nothing really major occurred except for the premiere of Saturday Night Live, which they just came out with. I think a movie just came out yesterday. As we're taping this on the 12th, based off Saturday Night Live. And I kind of like started going through like the history of that. And that's like just the original cast was like this, like the original Marvel superheroes. Like what they ended up doing in their career. Like they had, the original cast was like Dan Aykroyd. What is it? Was it John Belushi?
Bill Murray, John Belushi, yeah.
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Like the very first episode, um oh, Carlin was the first act, was the first opening act, and he did no like episodes with them, like, or no like scenes in besides in the show. Like he just did his monologues and all that shit, didn't do anything else. Or yeah, George Carlin. Yeah, Carlin did
George
that.
Carlin. I love George Carlin.
That was, and then you hear, I mean, it was such a pivotal show at the very beginning. I started going through that first season, like, oh my God, like this was really crazy. Like they had a scene called The Bees that the broadcast wanted them to like just wipe out, where they dressed up as bees and they just talked about their life as bees and shit. But it ended up being like something they did like rebelliously throughout the first season. It became like one of their biggest things ever. And it's just funny because me and my family go by the Bees because of my, real last name and shit like that, but that no one can pronounce, so they just call us the Bees.
Bonham? Isn't it Bonham?
No, that was a
No,
nickname. That was, that was a nickname that Jose gave me. And then when I told him about it, he was just like, yeah, like, I don't know where I made that up. I'm like, you just brutalized my last name, you fuck. And it's stuck forever. And
yeah,
there's only right now. There's only.
When I was introduced to you. Yeah, when Jose introduced me to you as Bonham, I was like, Bonham.
Yeah, and there's only like 5 people that call me that to this day, and like you're, and you know it, and like maybe a few other people. It's hilarious. But okay, so honorable mention about Saturday Night Live on the 11th. I was actually quite excited to find this out. Everybody knows about old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, one of the greatest jazz pop singers, possibly the very first pop star ever in music history. So I'm not going to talk about like his death or his birth and stuff like that. Although the scars on his cheek is not from like a fight, or like you may think he was in the war because he was born in that era. It was actually because he was so big at birth that the what is it, scalpels or whatever, the shit to pull him out actually scarred his cheek up and gave him those permanent scars. If you guys didn't know that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like tripping. I'm like, that's fucked up, man. That's not even like a good story to tell people when you grow up. So
no, it's not.
It's like,
where'd you get those, something up? Like,
it's like, it's like, where'd you get those scars? Like, ooh, I just like almost killed my mom at birth and had to use like the jaws of life to get me out. My head was
so fucking big.
But what I wanted to talk about, which I think is super crazy with how big like these pop stars are today, like Taylor Swift and the fandom that she has, like blows me away to this day. How people will get up like a day early just to stand in line to get like merchandise or just to get tickets, whatever the case may be. Right now, Sabrina Carpenter, her tickets are like on the same level as Taylor Swift. So I'm starting to see like a birth of like the next big star that's going to take on the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So on this day, on the 12th of October in 1944, Frank Sinatra played his 3rd season at the Paramount Theater, where his fans, they were named the Bobby Sockers. Sorry, I kept mixing these words around because it sounds better, like the box Sockers. That shit sounds better. But no, they're called the Bobby Sockers, where they would actually roll their socks all the way down to their shoes, which was like super, like, I don't know. I did that being funny, and my mom would be like, you look like a fucking elf. Stop doing that shit. I'm like, man, this is cool. Like, fuck you. So the day before at midnight, I guess you can say, I'm sure people were showing up the day before, like just strolling in. But at midnight, people started showing up to line up. By 5 a.m, there was 500 people. And I'm letting you people know, there was no males there. It's all females. By the time he performed, there was 30,000 people surrounding a 3,600 capacity Paramount Theater. All females, completely trying to raid this show for him. 30,000 females, no males. It blows my mind. There's a video on YouTube that you can watch where it is just thousands of ladies just wanting to see this one person sing. And it blows me away because I'm trying to contemplate, or trying to understand how someone gets that big. Like no matter what they do, it's just like there are just more people that swarm in to love them. I don't get it. I mean, like, is the
Well, think
Rock?
about this. Like, think about this. Is there any one right now? Is there any one like male singer or performer that will attract that many just females? Who can you think of right now that will do that?
I can't think of anybody.
Right? Like, so you're thinking about like he got his audience was all females. Like you're saying, there's no one that can even come close to that right now. Like, you know, it's crazy. Like his audience was obviously, he knew what his audience was. You know,
So this is like we're listening to records, people. There is no like phones. There's no digital streaming. It's you hear him on the radio and you buy his records. 30,000 people. Even back then, just
30,000.
imagine if 30,000 of those people bought his record. Like he was smashing records back then. It was incredible to think the way how we are selling music now to the way it was back then and to get this popularity. Just think about it, people. Just think about this next scenario I'm going to tell you. Besides him, I was about to say, I was going to talk about him being the first pop star, which I already did.
Yep.
He was in competition with this guy, sorry, named Bing Crosby. And I started listening to some of his music, and this is like the most upscale, classiest jazz swing music, but insulting lyrics at the same time. Like there's a song called like The Mule or something like that. He's like, "You want to be a mule? You got, and you're not going to school. You're a little bit ugly and fat," like that type of shit. And I'm like, "Oh my god, dude! Like, what the fuck is this going on?" And I was like, "People are loving this. Like, I don't get." For some reason, I didn't get the connection. Maybe it was just like people were listening to the music and the feel, like kind of how I do, and kind of forgot about the lyrics. Because I'm starting to listen to lyrics a little bit more in detail recently, and I listened to that. And I'm like, what the fuck is this, people? Like, what were we thinking about back in the 30s and stuff like that, and coming up with this? I mean, I guess you couldn't. There was no like, I guess, culture to be really vulgar in music. So I guess you had to be really classy about it, Like if your shoes aren't tied, you're gonna fall on your face. I mean, I guess I can see that back in the 40s and stuff. You don't hear anything like you hear now, which we've evolved, people. We've evolved to the point where we can say really explicit shit on music and stream it, to everybody to listen. But back then, if that was someone said some racy stuff, it was a bad scenario. So I'm just trying to breaking down like timelines and how we've changed as a culture too. You know, with the whole Diddy thing going on with contracts and shit like that, people may have not realized that Frank Sinatra was tied with the mob, and
Oh yeah.
and three major theories about his success were probably linked to the mob, and one of them was Sinatra was a kind of like an independent singer that would jump from band to band, and he was for part of the Four Hobokens. Then went to the Tommy Dorsey group, which was kind of like a really big swing big band. He was getting paid lots of money, like almost $1,500 a week, which is a hell of a lot of money back in the 40s. Like it was ridiculous amount of money. But he was recording. These guys were recording like 40 songs in like less than a month, which is as us musicians, when you hear us talk about writing music and how we have writer's block, these guys are just like cranking songs out. Like, no, we got this. 40
Jeez.
songs, no problem. So people thinking that in this situation with the Dorsey band that, Frank Sinatra's rocking, he wants to get out and go solo and Dorsey won't let him go. Well, Mob steps in, pretty much tells Dorsey, if you don't let Sinatra out of this, you won't survive to even know that he's free. So in 1942, September of 1942, Sinatra is released from his contract. He goes solo. Boom. And it's like he just blew up almost instantly. Um, Another crazy thing is that in the 40s, as World War One or two is going off, Rumor has it that Sinatra paid a doctor $40,000 in the 40s. $40,000. I'd assume that would probably accumulate to at least like $1 million or some shit like that,
At
close to
least,
it.
yeah.
To pay this doctor to say that he was unfit to go to war. And the FBI came out and said, like, yeah, there's no proof that this really happened. He was unfit, blah, blah, blah. But everybody was fit to go to war back in back in those days. Like if World War II, you had to sign up. Like
Yeah.
you could not avoid going to the draft if you were a male and you were was I think it was like 16 or 17 even back then. Uh so the fact that he paid that much money to get out of war showed how much money that he was generating for himself and his ties with the mob, because Sinatra would also do like little runs here and there, like messaging here and there, because he can go wherever he wanted to, because he everybody knew him, and no one was going to stop Frank Sinatra from just stepping in wherever the hell he wanted to. So he was really needy to the music industry and the mob back in the day. So um, in the 50s, he started kind of like losing, like or like the late 50s, he's kind of like losing his buzz, or early 50s. I'm sorry, and the music wasn't really rocking. Like in I think in 54 he started losing his voice. But he ended up doing a movie called The Eternity From Here to Eternity, which the director didn't want him to be a part of at all. And it was about three soldiers approaching the attack on Pearl Harbor. This is what the movie's based on. And Sinatra wanted to play this role called Maggio. And the director's like, I don't want him to be a part of it. You know, I don't want nothing to do with Sinatra. Supposedly, the mob comes in and says, he's going to get this role. You know, he's best for it. If you want to direct this movie, you know, you're going to cast him. Lo and behold, he gets the role and he wins an Academy Award. And from being a pop star to kind of like losing it with his voice, he became a movie star. And it just reamped his career for like the next 10, 15 years. You know, this whole, I mean, I kind of briefly went into the Sinatra thing, and I know I can kind of go a little bit deeper with it, but the 40s and 50s and what people did to establish things from then to like now, and how even Las Vegas was tied into the mob of being established. We have really interesting history, people. And I hate myself sometimes because I don't feel I put enough effort into looking into this history, because it's just, you can literally take A and tie it into C, and then C can take you over to its own A, B, C, D, E, F. And then from there you can branch off to that. It's amazing. And I wish I had the same type of like passion. I wish I had the same passion in high school. Like I kind of feel like I'm starting to establish now, but better late than never. But people listen to Frank Sinatra. Listen to how people used to conversate in lyrics, how it used to be really romantic. And then some of it would be the most soothing music, but the lyrics would be so dark. But you wouldn't even tell because it's very soothing. It's kind of like just going to sleep to ambiance. You know, you don't really think what's really going on, but there's like a tiger lurking in the back, like mauling some shit. You know, you never know. I'm just saying, you know, there's just really some things that people don't appreciate anymore in music because everything kind of sounds the same. But when you go back to how everything was established in history, we have great history and we're really missing out on it. And we have the internet now. Back then we had to like read books and really dive deep into all that type of stuff. We have so many cheat codes on the internet. People, I hope this useless information podcast, at least what I bring to the half of it, you know, inspires you to at least learn a little bit about something you were kind of curious about.
Well, I think that's the thing with what we decided to do as far as like this day in history is it makes me do a lot of research and go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole on things that I didn't know about. And hopefully it does the same for people listening. It's like this is our history. It's not just history of music. It goes into other things, history of the world. We start with things that might have to do with music, but then we go into things that have to do with just like humanity in general. we were talking about with like the mob ties to a pop star, right? And then we talk about like the things with Diddy, who was a pop star, and like who's controlling him? Like, are they also controlling the world? Like, it's just rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and that's what I love about that idea to actually go into like history, because I just keep finding video after video, and then just like I start researching and reading article after article, and then I find all this information that I'm like, wow, I did not know any of this. So I love that aspect of it. So I love that idea that we had here.
Yeah, it's really fun. There's just like you said, there's so many rabbit holes, and the shocking thing to some people out there that just are oblivious to how things have run. We live in the greatest country in the world, people. We truly do. Like, I'll put it up towards anyone. I don't give a shit if we're like the lowest in education or whatever. We have the best of everything here. But to establish what we've established, we've had to do some really fucked up shady shit. And it sucks, but you see most of these like super ultra successful billionaires in the world, they didn't do it by being squeaky clean. And we didn't get to being the way we are and being as having all this freedom and liberty by being squeaky clean. And that's the shitty thing about history, because when you dive into it, you're like, damn, dude, we're raw. Like, we're just
Yeah.
as raw we're just as savage as these other people.
Oh yeah, yeah. We dive into some history, and there's things that we look into, like, oh wow, we inherited some things that we did, like slavery, stuff like that. We also ended it. You know what I mean? There's still countries that are still involved in slavery. There's human trafficking that goes on in other countries. There's stuff that still happens. But we have a dark history, but we also ended some of that as well, which is a good thing. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from things that you did. That's what people don't realize. Like, hey, you did this. That's terrible. But we also ended it and we stopped. It's like when I was drinking, I was an asshole. I quit drinking. Now I'm the coolest motherfucker on the planet. It's like it happens, right? Like I fucked up when I was drinking a lot, and now I don't drink. I'm a cool guy. I take care of business now. I'm a better person. I learned from my mistakes. So when it comes to history, that's what you got to think about.
Yeah. One thing I didn't mention because I didn't scroll further down. One honorable mention with this Sinatra thing, with the whole ties with the mob. There is a theory that the mob put a hit on JFK because at the time, Fidel Castro has taken over Cuba and shut down all the major casinos that the mob had going on over there. So they lost millions of revenue back in 63. So they were losing money with that. Also, the mob got the Kennedys pretty much like from the littlest brother to the top, helped them get into office. Lo and behold, the United States asked the mob to try to put a hit on Castro, and they couldn't do it. They weren't successful. So as soon as they weren't successful with that, the U.S. started cracking down on the mob and all their illegal activities. So rumor has it, or theory has it, that the mob put a hit on JFK, who was assassinated on the 22nd of November in 63. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
That's one theory I've heard. I've also heard many theories on the JFK thing, but yeah, I've heard the mob. I've heard our own like you said, our own government went in to get somebody to get rid of him because of certain. That's a whole other rabbit hole. So, but yeah, I agree with
like
that.
I said, like, see, people, like, it could really just like Richard's ready to go. I mean, Dick's ready to rock.
I'm ready to go.
Like, let's fucking go. Like, JFK, I know about this.
I know what happened, bro.
Did you see the videos with the glitch in the video? There's something going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
How did the back of his head explode when it got shot in the front of it?
No, right?
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
All right, my guy. Yeah. What you got for us?
Okay, well, I didn't change the date because I did so much research on this and thought it was so interesting. And then, we were supposed to do this episode yesterday, and then things happened. So I kept mine for October 11th just because like I said, I went down a few rabbit holes and I really like this particular topic. So mine is yesterday, October 11th, in 1991. Apple Computers reaches an agreement with Apple Corps, which is spelled like the Marine Corps, right? CORPS. So I thought that was a kind of a cool play on words. But Apple
Mhm.
Corps, which is the Beatles, that's their basically their company. There's Apple Records and just everything's Apple within the Beatles company, which is called Apple Corps. So Apple Computers reaches an agreement with Apple Corps, paying them 26.5 million for the rights to run music software and use the Apple logo. Now, why this is significant? So, Apple Corps actually sued Apple Computers 3 different times because of basically the name. So, I'll go into it. In 1978, Apple Corps sued Apple Computers for trademark infringement. Okay, because they were called Apple Computers, Apple Corps. They settled out of court finally in 1981 for $80,000. Now, in this deal, Apple Computers promised to never enter the music industry, and that's very significant, right? And then Apple Corps never promised to never enter the computer industry. So, with Apple saying, "Oh yeah, we're never going to enter the music industry," in 1989, Apple Corps sued them again because they contained audio recording and MIDI capabilities in their computers, which is basically entering the music industry. And that's when in 1991, on this day, that's what happened. They settled it for 26.5 million for the rights to the music software that they were using, and then the Apple logo. Then fast forward to 2003, Apple Corps sues Apple Computers again because they were using the Apple logo on the Apple Store, right? So it was a violation of the original 1991 agreement. But in 2006, 3 years later, a judge ruled in favor of Apple Computers because the logo was only being used on the store and not in the music. Okay, so the Beatles were basically suing Apple like crazy. Um, in 2007, Apple Computers changed their name to Apple Inc. and then bought all the rights to the Apple name and licensed a few of the rights back to Apple Corps. So basically, this ended this decade-long feud between Apple and Apple Corps, Apple Computers and Apple Corps. They didn't disclose what the amount was, but it was anywhere from 50 million to 100 million. So this is really significant in the music industry because Apple has really changed the game as far as music. I mean, they came out with the iPod, stuff like that, and from there, streaming became the big thing instead of actually going and buying physical copies of basically like CDs or records or tapes, anything like that. Streaming now has become more important than that. And what ends up happening is the artists, they don't really make any money anymore off of their music. They're not making as much as they used to because they used to make money on the physical copies and stuff like that, and streaming doesn't pay nearly as much. So what they're doing, not the only way they can really make good money these days is live shows and merch. That's really all they can do. So Apple, with what they did here, really has changed the game. And back in 1978, Apple Corps tried to stop all this from happening by saying, "Hey, you can't get into the music industry," but Apple fucking did it anyway. And now look at what they've done. You know, look at the difference in like sales of iTunes sales or like streaming services, stuff like that, as compared to like CD sales or anything like that. It's they're not making the same amount of money as they used to. So it was a kind of a loss. So Apple kind of ruined the music game. The way I look at it, it does make it easier for all of us to know. Everybody uses Spotify. Everybody uses, Apple Music, stuff like that. I personally use Apple Music because I get it free. So with my phone service, so that's the only reason I use Apple Music. But I do like Spotify, of course. Um, so yeah, that's what I have for that. Just how Apple changed the game. It kind of brings us to another subject that we've kind of thrown back and forth and talked about with this whole Limp Bizkit thing that I wanted to get into as well. Um, it's about record labels. Like what do record labels get? What do record labels do? Did you look into any of that Limp Bizkit stuff?
I didn't, but I wanted to talk. I wanted to kind of like chime in a little bit about the whole the Apple and Apple Core
Mm-hmm.
situation. So obviously, like you said, streaming is a lot easier for us. We're not going out and buying the physical copies, and the artists aren't making as much as they used to. But remember when going to shows in the 90s and merchandise was like 10, 15, maybe $25 tops for like a hoodie or a t-shirt and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So now merchandise is on an average of $45 a t-shirt to $100 a hoodie. So
Yep.
I think at this point right now, there's a balance. Yeah, I mean, it
Well,
sucks.
I mean, that's why they're that much because they have to make money,
Right.
and so I guess you're right. Yeah, it's like there's a balance where they used to make money on their music and didn't have to sell the merch for that much or even their tickets for that much. And now it's like they have to because that's the only way they can make good money.
Yeah.
They have to charge 100 plus a ticket, or if you're Taylor Swift, 1,000 plus a ticket,
I went. I saw her last year.
yeah, I heard. I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm gonna see until I am physically unable to do this. I think every single year I'm going to see one big like grand pop star and like
Yeah.
strike it off my books. And I last year was Taylor. This year was Justin. And I don't know how we're gonna try to squeeze out like Sabrina Carpenter. And there's no way I'm gonna sell my body on the internet to get those tickets because it's ridiculous. So
Oh yeah, I bet. I'm hearing a lot about her. I couldn't name one song, but like my kids talk about her all the time. I'm like, okay, she must be the new big thing.
yeah, well, I mean, the sex appeal is starting to come back again. They're like doing the
Oh,
whole
okay.
Britney Spears thing again. And my
Oh,
wife's like,
good.
I'm like,
Good.
you need to watch this, this artist. I'm like, I don't want to listen to her music. She's like, no, I just want you to watch the video. Which, first off, with my makes my fiance one of the best, individuals in the world. But like, hey, I want you to watch this really sexy video just to let you, just to see your reaction. I'm like, you're testing
Right.
me, lady. You're testing me, and I like
Yeah,
this.
it's a test. Don't fall for it. It's a trap.
But yeah, dude. I mean, it's a crazy world right now to think that people spend thousands of dollars on tickets to see this one artist, and maybe it's not even. And I've talked about this before. It's not. I don't even think it's about the experience. It's just about saying I got to see this individual because
Sometimes, yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
I truly, truly feel that all artists, all performing artists, whatever trait you're in, should put the rule of putting all phones in those pouches. So no one,
Yes.
I mean, be in the moment, people. It's so beautiful. Like I keep going and going down rabbit holes of old 1990, 97 and to like 2005 concerts where nobody had cell phones, and it was just like a wild and crazy time. Now
Oh yeah.
you watch people that have thousands and thousands of people in the crowd, and nobody is moving. They're just standing still with their phones in the air, and that sucks. That's a really
Yeah.
shitty feeling as a performer, as no one's like getting into your music and they're just videotaping you.
Yeah, that's why when I go to a show, I'll record maybe like three different clips of it, and then I'm done. Then I'm in the moment. I don't sit there and film for like I saw people like when I was at the Dirty Head show, people were just standing there with their phone every song, filming every single song, and I'm like, I'll do maybe a 30-second clip of one of my favorite songs, and then I'll put the phone in my pocket and start being in the moment because I totally agree with that. You want to be in the moment. I just want to have these memories like ingrained in my head, not just on my phone, but I can go back and watch. Like I want to watch. I don't want to watch through the screen. It's you got to be in the moment. You're right. Back in the early before cell phones, back in like mid '90s, when I was going to shows, it was like all I cared about was jumping in that pit and having fun. And now it's like people just want to film it. Just want to take it home or post it on social media. Like, look where I went. And that's the main thing. It's like clout. It's like look where I am,
Yeah.
and that's ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's not as important as it shows are not as important as they used to be. I mean, the fandom
Yeah.
is as big as it ever has been, but the feels aren't the same, I think. That's why you're seeing all these like old artists that are, rejoining their old groups and reuniting and doing these reunion tours. People are flocking to that because they're like, I remember how special that was back in the day. Now I get to relive that moment. These kids are
Yeah.
just like, we're just swapping Snapchats. Which,
Oh
if
yeah.
you have a fucking Snapchat, you're a bad person. I'm sorry. I'm always going to say that. Anytime I hear the word
I heard your on
Snapchat,
your podcast. I heard them talking about that.
yeah, I'm sorry. The worst people in the world come from Snapchat. And, I met my
Oh yeah.
fiance through Snapchat, and we had to go through 7 years to realize that we were a piece of shit back then and we're not now. So there's a growing point, people.
Yeah. I had it at one point, and then I just like it got so lame for me. I was like, what is this? This is stupid.
It started
I don't even
once I
I don't
started
even
getting
use it.
messages from drug dealers. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is a very really bad app. It's really bad.
But about the Limp Bizkit thing, I just wanted to talk about the show that I saw. When I
Okay.
saw them at the Glen Helen, I mean, my situation was really dire in my personal head because I was fucking freezing to death because I had bad sunburn. But throughout that podcast and what I saw about that show, there wasn't like a lot of energy and oomph. And you know what? I chalk it up to like long tours, age, body fatigue, whatever the case may be. But I don't ever think that is there something else really going on in this band's core that's driving them to be less energetic on stage? This is where
Well,
I give the mic to you, my friend.
yeah. Well, Fred's got health issues. I don't know if you knew that. And if you watch when the Biscuit first came out and their shows and how energetic the whole band was, and Fred was just crazy on stage. You see like even before like their biggest albums, like Significant Other came out, like when they were doing shows for their other album, like dude, he was all over the stage, jumping around like crazy. But he's old. He has health issues. He's not the same person, but he still has the voice, right? He still sounds great.
Yep.
And from what I've seen, he still sounds amazing. And Wes Borland is just genius on the guitar. Like some of his riffs are just like, where did you come up with that? And the whole band, I mean, they're all amazing. And yeah, they're older now. I think that's what it is. And Fred used to bring the energy. That's where all the energy used to come from. And he just doesn't have it anymore. That's why he puts on the goofy outfits, and that's why he makes fun of himself on purpose. Like he's a marketing genius. He's like, look at me, always look at me, always look at me, right? No matter what it is, he's gonna put on a afro wig, right? And he's gonna come out like that, or he's gonna dress like a cowboy because he knows people are gonna take pictures of it and put it on social media and say, hey, look at Fred, what's he doing? I mean, it's all genius, and he does it on purpose. He's not stupid. His whole thing is he wants to, like, back in when he got big, he wanted to bring other bands up. That's why he started Flawless Records, and he discovered Puddle of Mud, who was huge for a while. He brought out, I don't know if you know the band She Wants Revenge. They're amazing. He discovered them. He signed them to Flawless Records, and he wanted to do that more than even just being in his band. He wanted to bring he's a music fan. He just wanted to bring other bands up. And I mean, that's why he brought like Corey Feldman on tour with him, because he was like, people are going to talk about it. That's why he did it, because he's like, usually they'll bring a band that's going to attract people. He just wanted people to talk like, hey, I'm going to bring Corey Feldman, who's absolutely terrible. I'm going to bring him on tour with us.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth there. Watch your mouth there, guy. I'm a big fucking
Goonies never say die.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there's a new Goonies movie coming out soon, and everybody's gonna watch it because of this whole rebirth of Corey Feldman from people talking shit and all this blasphemy. He's gonna blow up again. He's gonna have the Frank Sinatra resurrection. Watch.
Good for him. His music is terrible, and he's a horrible singer. And,
yes, he is.
But
he's an entertainer, though.
I love Corey Feldman. I really do. I really love Corey Feldman. I mean, come on. I mean, he was my childhood watching his movies. So, yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm saying with Fred. He just wants people to to look at him. And now they've had such a resurgence. They're touring with Metallica next year, right?
Yep.
That's crazy too. I mean, that's going to be a great tour. I can't stand Metallica like we were talking about, but I think that's going to be. I would go watch Metallica to see Metallica and Limp Bizkit together. I don't know. I'll go to that. So Fred knows what he's doing. He's not dumb. So I did some research on this whole lawsuit, which there's a lot of different things that go into this, but I'll talk about the lawsuit first. So it's basically he's suing Universal Music Group, which that's who they were signed to. for $200 million. Okay, and basically he got recently got new representation, and they looked into things and realized that he hasn't been paid by UMG in decades. He's basically never got any royalties off the music. The band has never got any royalties off the music. And basically, the way it works when you sign to a record label is they give you an advance, right? And basically, what that ends up paying for is like recording costs, any costs that have to do with recording the albums and stuff like that. They give you an advance, and then through your record sales and other things, I'm going to kind of dumb it down a little bit because I don't even really understand where all the money comes from. But basically, it's record sales and a few other things. You pay that money back that they advanced you. And after you pay that money back, then you start making profit. And of course, that profit does get split with the record label. You get a percentage, they get a percentage. But if you're selling 50 million records, you're going to get some money, right? And it's not only that, but Flawless Records was, they had ties to Universal Music Group, those bands. So anything those bands sold, so Puddle of Mud was huge. Those bands as well. So he's basically saying that he hasn't received any royalties. So his new representation, they basically went to UMG to get a statement and say, hey, like, let's see what's going on. They said, oh, we can't do that. Sorry. And they said, oh, wait. And then later they said, okay, wait a minute. We do have $1 million here just sitting there. We forgot about that. But yeah, we'll give that $1 million to the band. And it's like, okay, now you're coming up with money out of nowhere because you're afraid that maybe you're going to get sued. And so basically 50 million albums, no money. So what they're finding out is that UMG has no royalty statements between 1997 and 2004. When was Limp Bizkit huge? Between 1997 and 2004. So they're basically hiding the true amount of record sales in order to basically keep the profits themselves. Okay? I mean, give me a break. That's what record labels do, though. That's what all the record labels do.
My fucking jaws fucking dropped over here from the year you just said. It's like, yeah. I cannot imagine how much money those guys, they were getting just dump trucks of money poured into that.
Oh,
group.
Yeah. So, yeah, given like their first 3 albums, how many albums they sold, I mean, they should have easily recouped the cost, right? And, you know, they're saying that, no, they haven't yet. They haven't recouped the cost. And no, there's no release of what the actual advance was, what they got, but they've sold 50 million albums. Right now, they're 50 or 15 million monthly listeners as far as streaming services. 15 million monthly, right? And they're saying, okay, well, you haven't recouped your funds yet. So they're basically they stole their money. So this lawsuit basically, and this is all that's been released so far. Once the lawsuit starts going, more stuff's going to get released, more stuff's going to come out. My point with all this is like, this is what record labels do. And I've always been a big fan of like independent labels, Fat Records, things like that. And, Fat Mike, he said, I'm going to start my own label because this is bullshit. And he's been straight up independent for how many years? 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one example of what the way to do things right. And one example that I have as far as like doing things right is, I don't know if you know the band, the Suicide Machines. They're one of my favorite all-time bands. They got back together after like 15 years of not doing anything. And they put out an album. They had nobody, they chopped this album to about 15 different record labels. Nobody wanted it. Everybody said, nah, you guys are washed up. We don't need it. And a couple of them offered them deals that were like not great. They were like, well, we're not going to make any money on this. Like, this is stupid. We don't want to sign to these dinosaurs, right? So they shopped it to Fat Mike. They said, hey, man, just listen to it. See if you like it. Fat Mike said, I'll take it. Let's do it. Let's put it out, without hesitation. He heard it. He said, let's put it out. It did extremely well. And just because Fat Mike was like, hey, let's do this, because he doesn't care. He's not like, oh, I'm going to make money. He's like, this is a band that is amazing. Let's put them out, and he does that with a lot of different bands. And, they have a song, actually. NoFX has a song called Dinosaurs Will Die. That's exactly what it's about, is record labels. It's about all the record labels are dinosaurs and they're going to die. And this is hopefully this lawsuit with Limp Bizkit and Fred Durst. Hopefully this changes the game, because record labels are thieves. They've always been thieves, and they are all in it for their profit, and not they don't care about you at all. They don't care about the musician. So that's basically what I have with that. That's basically all the information I found on that. But good, kill it, Fred Durst. Get it,
dude.
Get your money.
I mean, just to put into perspective, while you were talking about this, I looked up a clip from, I don't know if everybody remembers this clip, but Snoop Dogg talked about how much money he makes through Spotify. And you're like, Limp Bizkit has 15 million, monthly streamers, rocking. And let me see if I can pull this up without it getting all fucked up. Listen to how much Snoop Dogg makes, and this is how corrupt the music industry is. Check this shit out. Snoop Dogg, one of the biggest rap artists of all time.
They just sent me some shit from Spotify where I got 1 billion streams, right? My publisher hit me. I said, break that down. How much money is that? That shit wasn't even $45,000.
That's crazy. That is fucking crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. They just sent me some.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
1 billion streams. And yeah, 1 billion streams.
1 billion. That's a third of the world population, if that, and he makes $45,000. There's something wrong with that ratio, people. There truly is. It brings
you back to the Apple thing. Like they changed the game with coming out with, and they weren't the first streaming service, but they changed it with like how we listen to music, right? Instead of just having to be on our computers, now we got it on our phones. Now we got it on mobile devices. And now it's everywhere. That's where things changed, and
you got to think about these artists.
Making money.
Yeah, you got to, and then like me contradicting myself, like, well, there's a balance between merchandise and fucking streaming, blah blah blah. But then these artists that are OGs in the game that don't tour and don't have to rely on that because their music he's getting 1 billion streams a year. Snoop's not doing anything with music. He's just going out and being Snoop Dogg. Yeah. So, but that's crazy to think that he's getting heard that much and not making shit. He's making middle class wage on his music that is being heard by billions of people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they have to charge for all this stuff. That's why they're going out and doing, people like Snoop Dogg are going out and doing, football and doing, endorsements, commercials and stuff like that. Like, why are they doing that? Because they're not making money on their music anymore. Back in the day they made money, but now they're not making any money. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I feel, and then you think about like, I don't know if you remember when Napster was out, right?
Yeah. And
when that Napster first came around and all these artists, Metallica was one of them, going in saying like, oh, they're stealing our money. And back then I was like, fuck you, what, you're going to make like $1 million less? Like, who cares? You're already millionaires. And now I think about it, basically we're all doing that. I mean, yeah, they're getting paid, but look what they're getting paid. Even though it's $45,000, that's still robbery. 1 billion streams. And that's how many people are listening to music. You're only getting $45,000. And I changed my tune on what I thought about Napster back in the day. And are these artists like getting pissed off at Napster because they're saying they're stealing their music? Because now people are paying for it, but they're still getting robbed. They're still getting robbed for their art.
Yep.
So yeah, streaming has changed the whole game, and I guess I can't feel bad because they're all still rich, but it's still not right. It's still, I don't care if they're still really rich. Like, it's still not right to only get paid $45,000 on 1 billion fucking streams. That's ridiculous.
Here's an unpopular opinion for everybody out there. Here, think about this. Do on this whatever you're doing while you're listening to this. Look at your taxes. Look how much fucking taxes are taken out of your check, and then see where all that goes to. You'll probably be super pissed off that you're getting robbed as well. You're going to think you're getting robbed.
We're all getting robbed. We're all getting robbed.
So, yeah.
That's why I don't pay my taxes. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, there we go, right? His mic just cuts off. We found him, y'all. We found him.
Yeah.
So yeah. I hope the industry changes. I mean, for people, I remember back in the Napster day, I used to think the same way you did. It's like, you guys are going to make millions of dollars anyways. But being someone that was a musician, it's like I would pay to put my CDs in stores just to be heard.
Yeah.
You know,
Give
I
them away
would do
for free.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here,
just
here.
leave a box, just enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of growing up and understanding that and misunderstanding that we didn't have no clue about. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
but you know, we live in such a instant gratification type world that we just we're just oblivious to shit like this because life is so easy for us in that category. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Spotify. Well, there's Apple right here. There's this and that. Now there's YouTube Music. You know, and everything's costing someone $25 a month, and that company is just raking it in, and while taking advantage of the artist.
That's true.
So
it's definitely true.
All right, man. Well, should we drop a top 5 on these guys before we get out of here?
Let's do it.
All right. So this week we have top 5 drummers. This I thought was going to be a lot easier than what it really was, but I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But did you want?
I went all over the place.
You want to go first?
I'll let you go first. No, you go first. I went first last time.
Okay.
I want you to go first. I want to hear yours.
All right. So, my number 5. No one that has ever worked with this guy can say that he can't be a part of this. Oh shit. Sorry about that. Someone's at my front door. We've all worked with this drummer growing up in the AV and stuff. One of my best friends in the entire world. He's an independent drummer by the name of Eduardo Lizarraga. He always does it with such emphasis, and I try to do it too, and then I brutalize it. He's an independent drummer that pretty much knows music theory from beginning to end in all like aspects of the game. You know, I've talked about him before. He helped me, you know, figure out my top 10 at the very beginning with singers and stuff. He's known for like being a punk drummer, but I know him as being one of the fastest hands in drumming. And when it comes down to drumming people, this category means a lot to me personally, because if you have a badass drummer, your whole entire band can suck dick and you will sound good. So this is a really big key category for me, because like he made everybody that he stepped into the room with a lot better. And I can play 2 or 3 power chords and that guy will make us sound great. It was, you know, we played music in my dad's garage, like with my amp right above his head, you know, sitting on the toolbox just so he can hear it properly. And, you know, we disturbed neighbors for years, but everybody's like, damn, you guys sound good at, you know, 13, 14 years old. It's kind of cool. So it's always been stuck in my head that this guy was epic to me. And like I did last week, I'll give you a little quick example of what he does. This is his band Maxwell Smart playing on, he played a couple Warped Tour shows back in the day.
Yeah.
He's super clean, man.
Like, he's so fast, dude.
Yeah. And it's like, why do you put, like, he doesn't go overboard on his music. Like, he just ties it in perfect because he understands that.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't need to do anything here, but I can do stuff here and I can put little fillers, this and that. So Eduardo is my top 5. Bro, if you ever listen to this stuff, I love you, man. I hope to play my one and done with you. I hope you are the drummer for this, because I think I'm going to suck ass and you're going to make me sound so much better.
Eduardo's a badass, dude. I remember jamming with him back in the day, thinking like, this guy's way too good for me.
I think that's how we all thought.
He's a badass.
Like, even now.
He's so good. Yeah, totally. Yeah, he's so good, dude.
All right, my number 4. This is going to be kind of like, I don't know if anybody knows these groups, but Gene Hoglan, originally from the band Death. I'm not a big like early death metal person or metal fan, but listening to Gene Hoglan's drumming was like, I mean, stop rides, playing double kick, and it was like totally new to me. and he was just completely cool about it. He was like one of the first drummers I ever saw where he was just like rocking, like doing some really heavy metal, double, fast metal, metal shit. And he wasn't even breaking a sweat. He was just like, he probably could smoke a cigarette, probably can have a phone call during the time, And I just kept, listening and listening to more of it. And I'm not a big Death fan, but the album that I did listen to, he was really pivotal on it. And I have one of the big songs I remember from Death was The Philosopher, and this is Gene Hoglan from their new DVD, from one of their DVDs. Wait till he gets into this shit, man. So, my first two drummers, I don't know if anybody could hear, they're very clean. They're very just in the pocket drummers. And that's very key to me. I don't need someone that's going to go like ballistic and trying to be a showman. That's not what drumming's for. It truly is not. So,
well, it's tough to have those skills to be able to play like, especially like death metal drummers, like playing blast beats and being able to like hit the ride at the right times and just do things the right way instead of just flying all over the place and not really knowing what you're doing. Like death metal drummers are crazy, like crazy skilled.
But they're matching like the guitar work too. Everything's all matching. So like that's the one thing that Eduardo always told me, my number 5. He told me simplicity is key in music. He's like, no one needs complicated shit. That's why pop music's so popular right now. It's just simple BPMs of that's it. And people
verse,
are
chorus,
just
verse.
That's it.
That's all pop music, verse, chorus, verse. So it's basically the formula.
All right. Coming in my number 3, we're all sticking with metal right now, people. And you're probably gonna be like, none of these guys I fucking know. Good. You get to listen to them. It's Thomas Hawk from the band Meshuggah. Now, this is good. I mean, you can go to like Dream Theater to really break down math, prog rock and shit. But when it comes down to like metal and like heavy riffs, Meshuggah is the best progressive rock band to this day right now. And if you know anything about Meshuggah, the first song that everybody talks about is Bleed. And besides the guitar playing, the in-sync guitar playing in this song where they have certain bends, so you have to do like octave bends at the same time, is quite difficult for almost 8 minutes. This guy keeps a like 5/3 pattern on the drums on his feet for the entire song. And just, I can't even describe how fucking awesome this is. I'm going to show you guys the beginning with the whole band, and then I'm going to isolate just the drums by itself so you guys can kind of hear. So this is Meshuggah, Bleed.
Are you fucking ready?
Yes, I am. Can you hear the bends in the guitar? So he's like just on his feet.
Yeah.
And this song is almost 8 minutes long. So isolated drums. They're like, hey guy, we still have like another hour left to play after this song.
Well, you know what I love so much? It just literally gives me chills when I hear like the chugs from the guitar and the double bass just right in sync. Like, fuck, like hardcore and like metal and like stuff like that. Just how they keep the listen to it. All the chugs are they're playing the same. Oh man, that just gives me chills. When I hear bands do that perfectly, it's like, fuck.
Is they care. They care, dude.
Yeah.
Like they have music theory. They have music theory. So.
Yeah. Oh, geez, man, that was really good. I like Michigan.
Okay, so I'm getting down to my last two, and this one, number two, was kind of difficult. I already had number one established. As soon as we got the category, I was like, I'm done. I'm like, number one's already gone. I mean, and it's not Prince. Let everybody know it's not Prince.
It's not Prince. It's not Prince this time.
Prince is not in my top. He's not in my top this time.
Okay.
Which this one is kind of like controversial because everybody's super excited about Mike Portnoy returning to Dream Theater. Me personally, I fucking love Mike Mangini. Possibly, and if I'm talking about Eduardo being like the quickest and cleanest hands, Mike Mangini is God with hands. Possibly the fastest hands in drumming right now. Mike Mangini has the mind of a mathematician in drumming. So Mike Mangini will always be like, everybody says, oh, Portnoy, it just makes a big difference to hear him back with Dream Theater. I'm like, Mike Mangini did exactly what Mike Portnoy did. Almost exact thing, if not cleaner. I truly feel. But Mike Mangini, this is his Dream Theater solo live at the Luna Park.
So good.
People, imagine if that's your drummer. That's your drummer. He's like, I can do this all day long if you like. I'm like, you don't have to. just do it during each song so I can be happy that I picked you. Like, so when I saw Dream Theater, when Mike Portnoy originally quit the group to kind of like pursue side projects with like Avenged Sevenfold after the Rev died, they did this whole documentary on this drumming audition with like some of the biggest drummers in the world, and Mike Mangini was one of them, and it's kind of like how I got introduced to him, and he was the standout dude. I was like, this guy is amazing, and Mike Portnoy is amazing. So to think that this guy, I feel, is going to even step in and do a better job, I was just like blown away by his audition, and I feel for the last 10 years he did a great job with Dream Theater. But the shitty thing is that they looked at him as a fill-in. He wasn't like a part of the band, I felt. He was like a fill-in. And that sucks because he's one of the greatest drummers of all time. He truly is. I feel like any band that he walks into, he can just change the whole dynamic and be like, oh shit, like I didn't even know we can do this in music. He's like, yeah, like it's possible for sure. So big number two honorable mention to Mike Mangini. You're getting a lot of shit for not being Mike Portnoy, but you guys are the same level, if not you're better for sure, because your hands are godlike. But the drummer that I feel is my number one, that I cannot, since watching him back in the early 90s with my number 5, Eduardo, is a Japanese drummer called Akira Jimbo. He's an independent drummer that has pretty much, he can be his whole entire band live because he has sensors on the rims of his drums with different sounds. So he can orchestrate an entire song just by his drumming alone, which he does do that now to this day. But Akira Jimbo, I remember watching this video, and at the very end of this huge drumming, live DVD or video he did, he is playing on this huge kit, and while he's doing this drum solo and the credits are rolling, people are slowly taking bits and pieces of his drum set away while he's still continuing this drum solo. And it's still, to this day, embedded in my head. And that's one thing about these tops for me, people. It's whoever just sticks in my head, and it will always be regarded as like a memory of like top. So you can watch it. This is from the independent video from Akira Jimbo, but this is the end credit for that. So the already taking shit away from him as he's playing on him. Slowly, toms are getting taken away. Cymbals, a whole rack gone. Now he came from a 12-piece. Now he's down to 3 toms and a snare and a kick. 1 tom gone. Bass. Rack gone. Now just snare. Did you guys even notice any of the kit being taken away?
He just kept going.
It's just, that will always be embedded in my mind, man. I'm like, that, oh, so good.
How many noises can you make on a snare?
Dude,
so good.
What else can you do here, bud?
Like that's great, dude. That was awesome.
Yeah, so that's my top 5. Oh, yeah, Kiri Jimbo, man. Like that video.
That's so good, dude. That is so good.
Dude, there's a video that he does where he's like wearing clown shoes and shit and he's just kicking ass, man. It's fucking, oh, he's so good. He's so good. This was a good category. I loved it. I love going down memory lane with this.
Yeah, definitely. So for my list, first one, I want to honorable mention, and I want you to look him up on YouTube. This guy is amazing. His name is El Estepario. Have you ever heard of this guy? Try looking him up.
Yes, he is. He's really big on social media.
He's got a beard. Yeah, he's huge on social media. But so you can look him up on social media if you want. But like, this guy is so fucking good. Like everything he does is crazy. From like throwing sticks in the air and playing one-handed. He wasn't on my list, but I just wanted to talk about him just because we were talking about drummers. This guy is so fucking good. And there was rumors that he was going to be the new Slipknot drummer before Casa Grande got it. It was like, he's that good because he's on, he's got his own band, stuff like that. But play something from him because he's just like, it's crazy how good this guy is.
So this is him. He just recently came out with this video. It's his cover of Psychosocial from Slipknot.
Yeah.
Wait, is this going to the drumming, like the percussion part? Because I would like to see what he wants to do with that. Those double kicks aren't in the original?
No,
so his improv is great.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the song. Sorry, guys, it's about to get louder, so beware. Triplets? So I want to point out that what he's doing on the kick, those triplets is on the original song is only through percussion. They're only using the snare on that. So oh shit, dude, fuck you, dude, for bringing this guy up, dude.
You gotta go down the rabbit hole. I've watched all his videos. He's just amazing. I didn't want to put him on my list because I have certain people that I want to talk about on my list, but like I wanted to honorable mention him. He's just he's great. He's so good.
That was awesome. That was every bit of epic.
Yeah, it was. But keep going down the rabbit hole. But okay, so my number 5 is Danny Carey from Tool, because of how technical he gets and some of the beats he plays. It's like I can't figure. He plays such odd time signatures with Tool. It's crazy. I can't keep up sometimes. I'm like I could never play these beats.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's probably what we're gonna say.
I just saw because the first thing I think about with Danny Carey is the song Numa. Is that how you say it?
Enigma or something like that?
Yeah, Enigma.
I don't know how to say it. Yeah.
So they just had on Drumeo Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater to learn that whole entire song, that with drums and everything. Like, here, just take as much time as you want to learn the song. It took this guy 6 hours to learn the song, and he's like,
Exactly.
"Fuck this song for sure."
Yes, that's what a lot of people say, and that's why I put him on my list, because when you hear, especially some of the stuff that's like from that album, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, how do they come up with this stuff? I was thinking, how does Tool come up with these time signatures, and how do they come up with these songs? Because I could never in my life write a song like Tool. Never. It would never happen. And Danny Carey's a big part of it. He's a big part of it, the way he plays his beats. It's crazy.
Here, I want to get into more of his drumming, so I don't. There we go. This is the song.
Yeah, listen to that.
That's a bass guitar, people. You ever think about, like, with music like this, that like who's following who? Like, is the guitar player or the bass player following the drummer, or vice versa in these situations?
Like, how do they write this stuff? Yeah. It's crazy. Like, I can't figure it out. I can never figure out I could never write a song like that. It's crazy. And that's why, and then his fills are just amazing too. When he goes right back into the time signatures and throws his fill out of nowhere, and it fits so perfectly. It's just crazy how good Danny Carey really is. And you don't really, unless you really know music and know, like, music theory and time signatures and all that stuff, you really don't appreciate it. If you just listen to music, it sounds cool, yeah, but then you start breaking it down and, like, okay, how would I write this song if I was to write a song like this? You can't do it. You just can't do it. No,
you can't. You don't understand. You truly do not understand this. You really don't.
You don't understand it. So as a musician, someone who plays drums, it's like I can't even play along. I can't just listen. I listen and appreciate. There's no way. But that's why I chose Danny Carey on as my number 5.
That's epic.
Yeah. And so for number 4, I chose from Led Zeppelin, John Bonham. And the reason I chose John Bonham is because I saw this video of what a Led Zeppelin song should sound like if you listen to just the guitar and the bass, and then what he actually did with the song. And it blew my fucking mind. The way he would play and add little things into ghost notes and just little things to the songs that just made him so much better. And that's why he was so innovative in his drumming that I had to put him on the list, because he changed everything. He influenced the way Danny Carey plays, right? He influenced the way everybody up until or after that point. He influenced everybody after that. And so he's my number 4.
Dude, I have to show some love to that, because just talking about my list in the double kick drumming and shit like that, if anybody listened to Led Zeppelin's Achilles' Last Stand, he does single pedal doubles throughout the entire song. And if it's hold on, don't want to get hit with a Marvel commercial. Damn you, damn you, YouTube. But that's he's following.
That's one pedal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
dude,
I'm a big fan of Led Zeppelin, but, like, that's the things you got to think about as musicians. Like, how great is that, right? Where you're just playing different shit that shouldn't be played in that song, but it makes the song so much better, right? You were just to play a beat to the song, this is what it would sound like, but then this is what he did with it. And it's like, holy, that changed my whole, like, I didn't even really think about that. When I saw that video, I started listening to Led Zeppelin songs, going, holy shit, this guy's amazing. I didn't really realize how great he actually was.
Yep.
And this is a long time ago. Like, this was 10 years ago when I did that, but it's like, holy shit, like he's so crazy good, and he had to be on my list.
It's the littlest things, dude, that intrigue the shit out of us, man.
Oh, dude, yeah, especially as musicians, and I break down every song that I listen to. I really do. Every song that I hear, I break down how it's written and little sounds that other people don't hear. It's stupid, but I do it with every song I hear.
It's not, dude, because there's some songs that I've listened to for so many years that I just love religiously, and then I'll hear something that I didn't hear before, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hear the bass line now. Like, it's just something as little as that. I'm like, oh, I actually hear what they're actually doing, because I'm not focusing on anything else. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. It's meaningful.
Yeah. All right. So for my number 3, this is probably, I don't know if it's controversial, but rest in peace, Mr. Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters. I just think he is. It's not because of like his intricacy or anything. It's just his emotion he puts into drumming. And when you watch Foo Fighters live, it's just how good him and Dave play off each other, and how good he fits with the music. And just, he is probably one of my all-time favorite drummers, if not like my favorite. My 1 and 2 have reasons for them, but he's probably my all-time favorite drummer.
This is Taylor Hawkins at the Hyde Park. It's just really sad, man. You really don't know how much shit these musicians are going through right now in life, or ever.
Yeah. Seems like all my favorite musicians, something happens,
So it's popularity, dude. Some people are built for it and some are not.
Yeah.
But
like, he had a lot of inspiration from, like Neil Peart from Rush. He always would say, and
listen to this. Listen to how he's drumming. I mean, you can hear a lot of classic drumming in it.
Yeah. I know, like in the song Rope, he has some rides in there that fit so well with the chorus. If you can play that song, and maybe play the chorus of the song Rope. That just blew me away, how he's hitting the ride. It's like ding 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 ding. It's little intricate things that you hear in the songs that just make it sound so much better. And that's a Neil Peart thing. It's like, that's what he used to do. Honorable mention to him too. But he's on everybody's top, 10 list. He's like, yeah. Watch.
Oh, look at that! I almost fucking did it perfectly on there.
And then we go into the bridge.
I've never heard this song before.
No, go to the bridge of the song. Go a little further after the second chorus. Yeah, this part.
Oh,
that's so good, bro. So good. Yeah, such a great song.
Dude, people,
that little cowbell in there,
yeah,
you hear that?
People, like, if you're a badass drummer in a band with a badass drummer as the lead singer, that's there's some musicianship there for sure.
There was an interview with both of them, and they asked Dave, like, who's your favorite drummer ever? And he was like, Taylor Hawkins. And Taylor Hawkins, who's your favorite drummer ever? He's like, Dave Grohl. Yeah. I mean, you got to be one of the best drummers ever. You got to be a badass drummer, and Taylor was like amazing. And that fun fact about that, some useless information, that that whole album was recorded at Dave's house on tape, which is crazy because at the time that everybody's doing digital, they recorded at Dave's house. The drums were set up in Dave's garage, and they recorded that whole album there. So
what a trip.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
Did you ever hear that interview with Grohl and Pharrell where he's talking about his how he's just a basic drummer and how he wrote Nevermind? Like his
oh
inspiration.
yeah, he was talking about how he got inspiration from like 70s disco bands or something like that.
See if I can
Stop
pull it.
saying I'm a good drummer because I'm the most basic fucking drummer. If you listen to Nevermind, I pulled so much stuff from the Gap Band and
The Gap
Cameo
Band.
and Tony Thompson on every one of those songs. All that. That's old disco. That's all
What
it
a
is.
fucking trip.
That's so funny. It's true though. It's so true.
And you never would have even thought. Never would have thought.
No, never. When he said that, I was like, "Oh shit, it's so true." Dave's an honorable mention too.
Okay, right there you go.
Yeah, definitely. So my number 2 and 1. We'll start with number 2, who is one of my favorite drummers ever. Our friend, Mr. Lyle Riddle. I'm just so proud of this guy and how much he's accomplished since I kicked him out of my band. He's well, he tried out for What For, and he was just too young. He was amazing, and I couldn't because he was only like 15, and he was blowing us away by how good he was. But it worked out for him, which I always say, and I just wanted to put him on my list because he's just done so much in music over the years. I mean, from playing with Eric from Sublime recently, you know, it's like Jesus, this guy grew up with us in Lake LA. Didn't he live like right across the street from me or something like that? He lived
Right across the street, dude.
Yeah, and this guy is from Lake LA, and he's played with some. I mean, he's good friends with HR from Bad Brains. He's friends with Eric Wilson. He's like, it's amazing. And not only that, he's such a fucking good drummer. Like I've seen him just jamming out, just doing nothing, and it's so good. He's so fucking good, and he's basically, you know, a hired gun, but he's from fucking Lake LA.
Yep.
That's what's crazy, and he's done so much, dude. And I'm just so proud of our brother. And you know, I call him my little brother. I've always called him 12, and I don't know if I told that story. He showed up at one of my parties, you know, at my white trash trailer parties in the backyard of my dad's house, and I told him, you know, you can't come into my party. You're 12. And then from then I just started calling him 12. And to this day, that's his nickname that I have for him is 12. But I love that guy so much, and I wanted to put him on my list because of that. But you know, I can't say. There's so many good things I can say about that kid. I just love him so much. He's like my little brother. Same to you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I've always referred to him as my little brother, and
yeah, me too.
I mean, like you said, he lived across the street from me, and me, you know, playing music, and with Eduardo, he would always come over and just sit there, and he would tell me, he's like, dude, just watching Eduardo play, he's like, that's what inspired me. And the crazy thing is that he couldn't get drums from school right off the bat, so he started off with the bells. And me and like my next door neighbor Chris, we were all like, you know, we're all good friends and stuff. We would clown that dude. He's like, fucking look at him, listen to him playing the bells. He's not even a drummer, blah, blah. That, what we didn't know is that was developing some of the quickest, cleanest hands I've ever heard from a fucking teenager. It was ridiculous how he shoved that shit in my face.
Oh, dude,
for sure.
He was 15, dude. He was 15 and playing these punk songs that I had written, clean as fuck, perfect. And I wanted him to be in the band so bad, but I was like, you know, if we're going and playing clubs, and we were all, you know, I think I was like 21, 22, and I was like, we can't bring this 15-year-old kid with us, no matter how good he is. Like, if we're going to start playing clubs and stuff like that, we can't do it. I really want to. And it was so hard to not let him in the band because he was so good at 15, you know, and just the things he's done. It's like, it's hard. I can go on and on about how much he's done in the music industry. And, you know, I had to put him on my list as number 2.
Well,
and there's a, go ahead.
I want to give him, you know, you may or may not remember the song, people, but this was actually in a commercial for Chili's, and he wrote this with the group that he was playing in at the time. It was their first song they ever written before, and it actually landed on the Chili's commercial. Let me see if I can pull this up without any commercials. Yeah, so this is a band he played in for a while and toured with called Terraplane Sun, and the song's called Get Me Golden, that was featured on Chili's commercial right here. And it's our brother on drums, dude. crazy dude.
Yeah.
And he's such a good dude too. Like that's another thing.
Yeah,
like
he's such a good dude.
He always, I think with Lyle, he always put himself at a place where he was always looking up to people, no matter who he saw. You know, like no matter what level he was at in music or whoever he was being introduced to, he was always looking up to someone. You know, and I think that's what keeps him so humbled in life right now. And,
he is so humble, dude. He talks about it like it's nothing. Like he hangs out with these legends, and it's like, well, it's just that's my homie Wilson. I was like, this Eric fucking Wilson from Sublime.
Dude. Wilson, dude. Like we would lose our mind.
He's so humble about it. Yeah, I did. He introduced me to Eric Wilson. I didn't know what to say. I was like, you're a fucking legend. Like I tried practicing your bass lines when I was like 16 years old. Like, you know, like this is a legend to me. And he was like, that's just my friend Wilson. I'm like, okay. But it's just, he's so humble. And like all that, like you said, all that looking up. And then he always just kept going, kept practicing, and got some big breaks because of his skills and because of the person he was. And it just, you know, snowballed from there. And now he's, you know, he's big in the music industry. He's just like, he's all over the place.
I would go out to Venice. I remember going out one time with my ex-wife to Venice to go watch him perform. And I'm just like, just this little hole in the wall place. I mean, and I was like, dude, like, why is he just doing these little small gigs? This is not even worth it. Fucking like 10 years later, this guy, he can be like, yeah, this is exactly why I did those shows back in the day.
Yep, exactly. That's where you start. So love you, brother. Love you, Lyle.
Yeah, love you, bud.
Amazing. So my number one is somebody who I personally played drums with, or played with for probably about 4 years. We were in a band together, and the best drummer I ever jammed with, my boy Johnny Phelps. The reason he's my number one is because I've never played with a drummer that we could sit there and play together and feed off each other and not stop for hours. Like literally we have done it. And he was not only the best drummer I ever played with, but he was like my best friend for, you know, those years we were in a band together. We started out, he was the one who Lyle didn't make it because he was too young. And then I met Johnny. He said he played drums, tried him out. He was amazing. We used to party together. I didn't know he even played drums. And then we got him in the band, and we instantly became amazing friends. And we used to sit in the car listening to music, saying, you know, this is kind of influencing us. Like we would listen to like Hatebreed and say like, we need to start playing hardcore. Like this is, and then we'd go and play for like an hour, just trying to play some hardcore beats. And we were on the same level all the time. We were always in sync. And that's why he's so, like we were saying earlier, like he doesn't put things in where they don't belong. He knows music theory. He knows everything about it. And I didn't really know a lot about that stuff when I started jamming with him. And he taught me so much about songwriting and just stuff like that. When I was already like established in writing songs and stuff like that, it made it to where like the songwriting, I wish we had recordings from like the Slum Tree days, which we don't, but I wish we had recordings.
That's such a great name.
Yeah. The story behind that name is so Danny we were trying to think of a different name because I felt like, okay, we started out as What For, and then it was me, Johnny, Kyle Doro, and then Danny Stella. We all thought about it. We were like, this isn't like the music we were playing. This isn't What For. It's so different. So we changed it. We said, we're going to change the name. And Danny said he was driving down someplace in Lancaster, and there was a street called King Tree. And he saw King Tree, and then he thought about like, that kind of sounds cool, but I don't like King Tree. What else can we do? And he's like, well, at the time we were all smoking weed. So what is weed? It's like a slum tree. And then he's like, slum tree. And that's where he got the name. Is weed. And he got the name from a street in Lancaster.
That's great.
Yeah, but we thought about it, you know, and we started playing songs that were like in chapters. I don't know if you've seen like where it doesn't go back into the same, like a verse, chorus, verse. It doesn't do that. And it was Johnny's idea. He was like, I want to play songs that just change, like, and they don't go back to the same shit. And we started writing songs like that, and where the tempo changes too. And this was all coming from Johnny's mind. Like he was like, we got to do something like that. And we wrote a few songs like that were just, they were crazy good. And they were hardcore songs. And we'd throw like hip hop beats into it. And Johnny would bust out this like hip hop beat and Danny would rap. And no one was doing any of that shit at that time. I mean, Limp Bizkit was kind of big, but they were just kind of doing that hip hop rock. But we were doing hardcore punk with screams and shit like that. Then we'd bust out like this hip hop beat. And Johnny was like, you know, he was good at that part too. And that's why he's my number one, because he's just such an amazing drummer. And why he never got famous is crazy, because he's so fucking good. And I love that guy like a brother to this day. He was actually on my podcast and we talked about, you know, stuff like that. It's actually my most listened to podcast is when Johnny Phelps was on it. So shout out to my boy Johnny. I love him so much. He's like a brother to me. But he's my number one, Johnny fucking Phelps.
Johnny, no disrespect, man. I have no audio of you playing drums, so I would love to have done it, but I didn't know Richard's top list, and I just do these on the whim. So next time we'll be prepared.
No, I didn't. Yeah, we'll come up with something eventually. Maybe I'll find a video that I can share. But he was doing some videos of just him jamming in his house for a while. But I just wish we had audio. I wish we had like recordings of, you know, the Slim Tree era, because we started to do it, and then it was right when the band ended up breaking up, and I was drinking a lot at the time, and we touched on this in my podcast. I was drinking a lot at the time, and I had a lot of pressure because I had 2 kids, and it was rough. And that's when we started actually recording a demo. And we had a guy that had a computer that had recording software on it. He brought it over. We borrowed this big ass mixing board to record the drums. I mean, it was fucking huge. It was the size of a desk. And we got that. We had some stuff started. And then I was pissed off because we got another guitar player, and all I heard was his guitar, even though I wrote all the songs. You know, it was like he didn't write any of these songs, and I hear his guitar. And I'm like, so I got pissed off, screamed at the band, told them, fuck you, I'm out. And nothing ever really got finished on the recording. So I'm sad about that. I wish there was some of those songs recorded, but unfortunately there's not. But they were so good. They were such good songs. I mean, the best songs that I think I've ever written. And I can't even remember any of them because none of them got recorded, you know?
Yeah,
so
that sucks, dude. I remember with my Guilt by Association group, right before I left, we were recording an album, and as soon as I left, they're like, we never released it. And I still talk to JD, who had the masters, and he's like, my whole Apple computer just fried and all the recordings are gone. It was like,
that's so sad, dude.
I'm like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and it was at a time that we were, because when I joined the group, they were already established in Hollywood, and they had like an LP or an EP, and then they just dropped an LP when I joined the group. So by the time my tenure was over with, we were recording something like brand new that these people were like starting to hear at the very end of, you know, my stay there. And since it wasn't released, I was like, fuck, man, like this would have, like, I think this would have been the album that made us like go a little bit further than what people were listening in the past. But man, there's nothing, I can't hear any of it. All I have is these old like video recordings of us live and stuff, but it's, you know, obviously the audio is crap and shit back in the early 2000s. But yeah, man, if we had those tapes that we recorded on boom boxes from our earlier days and shit like that.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. Well, I'm actually sitting here looking at the Little Rock High School talent show. I posted it on Instagram, but I have a cassette tape of the Little Rock High School talent show, 1996. Where before we changed our name to what for, we were called Mad Cow Disease. So that wasn't my idea, but it was the first name where I had my friend Marcus was singing, and Tommy was in the band, and so that we played It's Not Fair, which is a song I just released. So I'm trying to find a VCR so I can play this video. So that's kind of cool. I'm excited about that. This is like I said, 1996. So
what a trip.
hopefully I can get this. And there's another video that I have that I need to, it's like a party at Barco's house where we played. And I'm trying to get that one. I want to get all these like put on the digital so I can, you know, put those out. But That's one of the early when we were still 4, I think. But I was with Danny Stella and the guys I just mentioned with Johnny and Kyle. So, but yeah, that's really all I have. I don't have anything else. But that's why you need to start recording some stuff, man. Yeah, but anyway,
dude. But before I let you go, man, I have to say your last podcast on the Mind of Dick podcast when you're talking about Rona Street, dude.
Yeah.
You bring me down so much nostalgia, dude. It's like God bless your heart for fucking doing podcasts again on your platform, dude, because I missed it. And it just, for anybody that lived out in the Antelope Valley, particularly in Lake LA, this guy's stories will bring you down fucking memory lane. It's amazing. So please, if you are familiar with the area, or even if you lived in the outskirts like Lancaster, Quartz Hill, Palmdale, whatever the case may be, or even Little Rock, Lake LA was its own beast.
It really was. Yeah, I have so many stories, and I've actually got a bunch of people sending me messages about other things that I didn't mention, and I'm like, crap. I was talking to Kyle Doro. I was like, I think I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because you're bringing up some of these stories. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I got to talk about that too. I didn't talk about that.
You just got to bring him on the podcast, man. Just bring him on. There's so much you can talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about the dairy all day long. There's so many stories from Lake LA. Like, it's like, crazy.
This is how tight our community was. How you said Kyle Dora was in your band. Kyle Dora was the bass player from my first group.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, man, I'm gonna keep doing those stories. It seems like that's what people react to most is when I tell the old stories. So I'm gonna keep doing those. I like going down memory lane.
Yeah, dude, and you're a good storyteller. So yeah, definitely keep doing that shit, dude. But for everybody out there, thank you guys for tuning in for this 3rd installment of Useless Information. Please go follow us on Instagram at the Mind of Dick Podcast, the Conference Call Podcast, and on all podcast platforms for each individual. But thank you, brother. I appreciate and love you. One of my best friends, and I love this is one of my pivotal things I like doing. Every other week with you, dude. It's so much fun.
Yeah, me too, man. Love you, brother.
So thank you guys all for listening. As always, keep positive and stay classy. Peace.
Peace.